Hey guys, so it's Sunday night and we've just had our first Vigil of Blades fight as the Immortals. For this video I just wanted to take a quick look at the first 3 weeks of the Cycle of Strife, which is all Vigil of Blades fights, and I kind of wanted to understand how this mode actually works and the scoring in the mode and the rewards it gives. To start this video, I wanted to take a look at the full Cycle of Strife and the whole bigger picture and just any small changes that Blizzard has made. So we have this table here that goes through every week, but it's kind of annoying to scroll, so I've just made a table that shows the full view. You can see it here. So I'll just try to explain this as best as I can. So every Sunday there's an activity where the Immortals and Shadows fight, and for the first 3 weeks it's Vigil of Blades. So with Vigil of Blades, it's only the 3 Immortal clans and the top 3 Shadow clans fighting. Each clan has their own fight, and you won't be able to mix and match like you can in the Rite of Exile. So each clan will have to manage their own fight individually. As far as what the rewards give you and the buffs they give, basically every single week will give you a 4% damage and 4% life bonus inside the Rite of Exile, and this bonus stacks. So what this means is that week 1 you have 4%, week 2 you have another 4%, and week 3 you also have another 4%, and these can add up to 12%. So if the same faction wins, so let's say Shadows wins all 3 weeks, then they'll have a 12% buff going into the Rite of Exile in week 4. So another thing to notice is that now the shortest length of the reign is 4 weeks, because the Vigil of Blades is taking up the first 3 weeks. So the Immortals' reign minimum will be 4 weeks, ending on the Sunday in the 4th week. So this is a change that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes. So moving on to the Rite of Exile, I'm not going to spend too much time in this because it's pretty much the same as how it was before. You send in 10 teams of 8 against the 10 teams from the top 10 Shadow clans. And for weeks 4 to 6, every single fight is determined individually whether you can move on to the next week. So for week 5, if the Immortals fail to make 5 wins, then it moves on to the Challenge of the Immortal, where it's a 30 versus 1 fight against the Immortal controlling the statue. And if the Shadows can defeat the Immortal, so if he doesn't make enough kills or if he doesn't survive in the time, then he's defeated and the Shadows are overturn the Immortals and their reign would end there. So potentially the reign could end on week 4, could end on week 5, or could end on week 6. So if the Immortals make it past all these 3 weeks, they'll move on to the 7th week. And I believe in the 7th week, it's not explicitly mentioned in the game, but I'd like to think that there isn't a Rite of Exile, because it just says that the Immortals cannot defend no matter how many wins they make, and there'll be a Challenge of the Immortal regardless. So if there's a Challenge of the Immortal regardless, and the Immortal leader can defend against the Shadows, then they acquire the Blessed Reign. And if he cannot defend against the Shadows, then the reign would end there. Well, regardless, the reign would end there anyway. So even if they acquire the Blessed Reign, the Shadows would overturn, and they become the new Immortals based on the free-for-all fight. So now I'd like to move on more in depth to look at the first 3 weeks, the Vigil of Blades. So the first thing I want to talk about is the matching system. So the Immortals fight against the top 3 Shadow clans every week, and it seems like neither side can directly influence which clan they get matched up against, but I've noticed some things, at least for this week, and I'm going to be observing them to see how it goes like for 2nd week and 3rd week. So from our side, our clan play to win. This is the Immortal clan of the server, and the first ally we've selected is Honor clan, and the second ally is Infinite Storm. So if we go back to the matching for week 1, we can see that our clan, the Immortal clan, has been paired up against the Dark Legacy clan, which is the 3rd place clan for this week. Our first ally, Honor clan, got matched up against the 2nd position Shadow clan, which is Ancients clan, and our second ally, Infinite Storm, got matched up against the 1st position Shadow clan, which is Maximum Effort. I believe this is how the matching will work moving forward, but as I said, I'm going to be monitoring to see if this is how it works. So unfortunately we got defeated in the 1st week, but I'd like to congratulate the Shadow faction, and they really did outplay us this week, so they definitely deserve the win, especially Dark Legacy Clan and Maximum Effort Clan. Well done, guys. So I recorded some footage of the Vigil of Blades fights we had today, and I'm going to look at the bigger picture kind of mistakes that we did and also how the system works, but just so this video doesn't become too long, I'm going to avoid talking about kind of strategies for winning individual fights. I'll talk about them at a high level, but I'll be editing the fights and sections of the video just so it doesn't become way too long. So as Immortal, as soon as the server time hits 8 p.m, you get this pop-up here where it says the Vigil of Blades will begin in 5 minutes, and you can pick Navigate, and it will take you to the Rite of Exile entrance, and you'll have 5 minutes to get into the fight. So you click Enter Vigil of Blades, and here you can see all of the fights. So bear in mind, you'll only be able to see your own clan's fights, you can't see the other clan's fights. When I first saw this menu, it was kind of intimidating because I wasn't aware of the scoring system, and I didn't know that there were actually so many matches to play. So as you can see here, these matches are split up into 5 categories. You've got the Exalted Battle, which gives 8 victory points. You've got the Eminent Battle, which gives 4. You've got the Fame Battle, which gives 2. And you've got the Proud Battle, which gives 1. And each category has 3 matches to be played. With each clan having one of these tables, that makes for a total of 12 matches per clan, which is 36 total matches. And bear in mind, for the Immortals clan to win, at least 2 of the Immortal clans need to defeat the Shadow clan. So with 12 matches and each of them being an 8v8, that means it would need 96 players to fill all the matches, which depending on how active your server is, might be a very big ask. So to keep this simple, I'm just going to be looking at the scoring for the matches in my clan, but the scoring of the other Immortal clan matches will work in the same way. So adding up all the points from all of these fights, the total number of points is 45, so a clan would need a minimum of 23 points to claim victory. Technically, if your clan can guarantee to win all of the Exalted fights, you could technically win the Vigil of Blades just from the points from the Exalted fights alone. But this proves to be a risky strategy. For our clan, we used this exact strategy and only made teams for the 3 Exalted fights. What surprised us was what Shadow Clan did was send one player for each of the other fights, just a solo player, and that gave them the victory for all of the other fights. So as soon as we dropped one Exalted fight, the match was lost. You have to kind of think of all of the other fights that aren't Exalted fights as Support 1 or Support 2 in the old Shadow War system. So you kind of want to have at least a few players in every single one of these fights so that the other team can't just claim a victory by default. So going back to how it looks like in game, if you click any of these matches, you can see the roster currently. And from here, you can choose to enter the fight. So something strange is that we noticed that if you enter the fight, you aren't locked into that fight. So within the 5 minutes where people are getting into matches, you can exit a fight and actually join a different one. So a few people use this strategy to go inside and scout the team and see how strong it was, and would just leave to go to another match. But I know a few people, not in our server, reported that this is actually an exploit because you could actually do it in the middle of a match. So I'm not sure, to be honest, if this is intended or if Blizzard needs to fix this issue. So while inside the fight, you can click the middle of the screen and be able to see a breakdown of all the people in every single fight. And as you can see from here, for all the fights towards the bottom, the Shadow Clans have sent 1 or 2 members, and we've sent none. We'll definitely learn from our mistakes and improve for the fight next week. So unfortunately, the fight felt pretty laggy and buggy. There were a lot of times where I would watch my teammates and their movements wouldn't quite line up. And unfortunately, some players reported that people would be invisible during the fight. A few times during the fight, I noticed some of my teammates weren't moving at all, and I was wondering what was going on, and it turned out that their movement wasn't updating on my screen in a fluid way. As well as this, one of my clanmates who's a PC player shared me this screenshot. So as you can see, his skills have completely disappeared, and he told me that when he tried to move using his keyboard, he couldn't do it, and he had to resort to using the mouse. And unfortunately, you couldn't see the cooldown of his skills because none of his skills were there. As well as that, all of the champions' marks dropped by killing players in the game weren't removed from the screen. So even if players picked them up, they wouldn't be removed, and he couldn't pick them up himself. So it was really frustrating and annoying, and it kind of distracted him from the fight. So, to sum this up, I really hope that Blizzard can fix all of these bugs. I tested playing the smaller scale version of this fight, which is the Alley of Blood limited time event, and it had nowhere near as many bugs as this, so I wonder if having 8v8 format would cause there to be more bugs, or whether certain players wearing certain cosmetics would cause them to have a higher chance of becoming invisible. We've certainly seen these type of bugs happen a lot before in previous patches in Battlegrounds. So when I tried to enter another fight after my fight already ended, it said I wasn't able to, but this was likely due to the fact that I completed my fight. Some players mentioned that you could enter as long as you left before your fight had ended. I mean, you could certainly enter within the 5 minute cooldown while the teams are forming, and we actually thought this was an intended change and it wasn't an exploit. So we used the 5 minutes at the start to just size up all of the teams and just have a look at the competition. If this isn't intended, then I really hope Blizzard fixes this. I could totally see this being abused with players constantly leaving and rejoining different fights. So to end the video, lastly, I wanted to talk about the rewards for participating in Vigil of Blades. So if you were to win, obviously you would get the 4% life and damage bonus that I talked about, but as well as this, there's some bonus rewards. So if you correctly predict the winning faction in the prediction tab of Cycle of Strife before 7 PM server time on Sunday, you'll be entered into a draw, and 5 lucky winners will have a chance to win a legendary crest for the week. As well as that, you get a mail with a bonus chest and some XP. And even if you predict strong, you'll still get a mail, though it has roughly half the rewards of the winning mail. So as well as that, you also get this mail just for participating, which has 2 legendaries and 1.6 million, which is pretty nice. And also because you weren't able to participate in the live predictions while the matches were going on, you get the max reward as if you won all of your live predictions. So overall, I think these are pretty nice rewards just for participating, even if you don't win. So finally, I'd like to sum up everything in this video and just put my thoughts about this mode. So one of the things which is pretty nice, I think, is having a way to kind of interact with the shadows in the first couple of weeks of the Cycle of Strife. So before, the shadows would have their shadow war and the Immortals would kind of comfortably sit for the first 3 weeks and not have to do much until the Rite of Exile. So this gives a nice way for both opposing factions to interact. Now with the things that I dislike about this mode. So first of all, in my opinion, and maybe this is a hot take, I know Blizzard wants more players to be able to participate in these kind of events, but the sad thing is that many clans don't have the required activity to field 96 players to fill out all of the fights. So, as well as this, Blizzard has added the different modes like being able to spectate the fights and being able to predict the fights, so it kind of allows different clanmates that don't necessarily want to participate in the PvP to also feel like they're getting involved into the Cycle of Strife. It just feels really bad to have to settle for most of the fights outside the Exalted bracket to be completely empty and only have 1 or 2 fillers just so a clan doesn't win by default. The truth is that for 95% of clans in the community, they won't have 96 active players at a given moment, let alone players that would want to participate in PvP events. So I could see 2 solutions which Blizzard could implement. The first being to cut down the fights instead of being 8v8 fights to be 4v4 fights. Who knows, this might inadvertently fix all of the bugs. Either that, or you could remove the bottom 2 brackets, so instead of having 4 brackets, you only have 2. With the direction this game is going, with Blizzard focusing more and more on having the game be accessible for players with a busy lifestyle, and adding weekly dailies and catch-up mechanics, I kind of struggle to see why they added such a complex mode. To me, it feels like the Rite of Exile, where you have 10 players from each of the top 10 Shadow Clans, or 80 players from the Immortals, is more intuitive and more fun than how the Vigil of Blades works. Anyway, this video has gone on for far too long, so I don't want to keep rambling on. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and once again, I want to thank everyone so much for liking my videos and subscribing. It really does mean a lot. I'll be having a few more Immortal guides coming to my channel over the next few days, so even if you're part of Shadows, you're welcome to come and watch. Please stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next one.